David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. And folks, before I get to my story, if you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com. If you're able to, make a donation. Sometimes we have to pay lawyers' fees. Sometimes we need to hire bodyguards. But it's worth it when it comes to the practice of journalism and telling you the other side of the story. Well, folks, I'm standing across the street from Trinity Bellwoods Park. The reason why I've made some distance between the park and myself, well, it's sometimes dangerous to go there. There are unhinged people, there are violent people, there are even vicious animals in this park. And here's the thing, the city of Toronto apparently was going to do something about the tent cities that are occupying dozens of city parks right now. They were going to clean up these numerous tent cities, and they were going to house the homeless in shelters and even hotels, if you can believe it. But get a load of this. Apparently, that's not good enough. You see, a group made up of 14 people living in the encampments and 2 activist organizations, well, they are currently seeking an interim order to allow the individuals that are in these Toronto parks to stay there. Yeah, they issued a constitutional challenge last week that, well, basically, city bylaws, including the Trespass Act, are not valid. Now, I am stunned by this. The fact is, they're arguing that they have a constitutional right to, camp out overnight, to cook their meals, to urinate, to defecate in a public park. And I have to be honest, I thought this was going to be thrown out last week when it went before a judge, but no such luck. In a CBC article, the group's lawyer, Selwyn Peters, he says the city's threats to remove the homeless people from parks violates their charter rights. And he said that the city's attempts to clear the camps are cruel. Cruel? You want cruel? Check out what happened to me at Trinity Bellwoods Park last month, folks, when a degenerate by the name of Dean Edsey decided that, well, he just didn't want us filming in that park. Please keep in mind that I was not in any way harassing him. We were just using the backdrop of this filthy tent city as part of the introduction to my report. Nevertheless, he deemed that our mere presence to be a violation of his rights. Check it out.
Please move. Move. I don't like myself being filmed. You don't have the right to actually smash that camera right now. I wouldn't do that. I have the right to smash that. Hey. Don't do that. By law, I have the right to smash that. You have the right to smash that camera by law? Yeah, by law, you know I have to smash that camera. What law are you quoting?
By the way, Edsey, 40, was charged with assault with a weapon, assault causing bodily harm, and mischief as well. Mark, a.k.a. Andre Durant, 61, he was charged with assault. He's the scholar that violently knocked the cell phone out of my hand for whatever reason. But back to the issue at hand, as you can imagine, you'd think this would be a good thing, the city putting up homeless people in shelters and in hotels, but apparently that's not good enough. At least it's not good enough for some homeless that are adamant about camping in Toronto's public parks. By the way, the CBC story notes that one such individual is Derek Black. The CBC story notes that he was offered a hotel space, but get a load of this, he declined the offer because his social connections and services are near Moss Park, where he currently lives in a tent. His lawyer, Mr. Peters, said the following, quote, "If the city offers him the appropriate accommodation and housing support, I'm sure Mr. Black will gladly accept it," end quote. Yeah, how do you like that? Appropriate accommodation. Wow, so much for that old adage of beggars can't be choosers. And why is Mr. Black unable to make a commute on a daily basis for his social connections and services. He's homeless after all. What else does he have to do all day? By the way, let it be known that the City of Toronto reports that more than 10,000 used needles were collected by city staff this summer alone. Spokesman Brad Ross rightfully says not only is there a safety risk, but parks are meant to be shared by everyone in the city, says Ross. Quote, "City parks are for everybody. It's not appropriate to be camping in parks. It's safer to be inside where you have access to water, to facilities like washrooms and showers, and the services we provide like meals and wraparound health services," end quote. And he's right, of course. Public parks are for, as the name would imply, the public. Now, as I said earlier, I thought this ludicrous lawsuit would be thrown out of court on day one, but no, a judge actually heard this nonsense, and he will render his judgment in a few weeks. But folks, if he rules in favor of the homeless squatters, then I'm afraid the city parks will be surrendered to the homeless and the drug addicts and the mentally ill, while law-abiding taxpayers will have to stay indoors if they value their safety. But that's apparently how we roll in John Tory's Toronto, in John Tory's sanctuary city. Reward the takers, penalize the makers. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, if you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com. Sometimes we have lawyers' fees to pay, sometimes it's bodyguard services. If you can make a donation, that helps us bring you the other side of the story.